I'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity and the White Paper Library. And we've gone through a lot, right? I mean, it's almost like you're drinking out of a fire hose. It's like, whoa, there's a lot there. And the first section is going to be, learning to think differently through engineered clarity. So we've been through all of those. Now, you might be asking, should I go through them again? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, maybe take two art buddies through them. I don't know. I I think people race through things and they don't really internalize things. I don't know. And Cheryl, you can interrupt me at any time if you have thoughts on my musings. The second phase two is the income machine. So we've been through that. And so that's, I mean, what's the purpose of the income? I think it's to make money so we can live, but we want like we want it to where I don't want to have to, I don't want to do anything more income wise, like investing. I can't work for somebody else. I don't think I'm employable. I just, I want my freedom.
Right.
And so I gave up a job. Well, I gave up a career where I was 27 years old and on track to make $460,000 a year for my freedom. So I'd rather die in the jungle than live in the zoo. I mean, it's just me. I don't know. And so then we go into life, life vision, passions, legacy, and a lot more. And we've gone through here, discover my life vision. And what's weird, Cheryl, is that people have done that, but it doesn't seem to take over their life.
Okay, so why not?
I don't know. I mean, Alan Stein said, you've discovered your life vision when you hate it, you run from it. It pursues you relentlessly and you can't escape from it. That's pretty profound.
Right.
And so I don't know. I mean, maybe because they know it sucks, you're going to be making a lot of sacrifices, you're going to do a lot of work. Who wants to sacrifice? Who wants to do more work? And you're going to have to
Right.
take risk. Well, who wants to do that? So don't want to do any of that. So maybe they get a glimpse of it, like Alan said, you get a glimpse of it, then you're like, and they run from it. And for whatever reason, they are able to outrun their life vision. I don't know, Cheryl.
That makes sense.
And so, I mean, we got to get into, we have Coffee Connection today. If you're listening to this and you're not part of a Coffee Connection, I'm just telling you, you need to be one. They're super easy to set up. So if you don't have one in your local area, set one up. And all you need is one other person. I mean, why do you need one other person? Because otherwise you won't be irritated. Like when we have a Coffee Connection of one, it's just me. Man, I love that. I love when it's just me. Then there's no stupid people in the room. Like I'm just saying, I'm just being honest. Cheryl says to be honest, so I'm working on that. And so you're going to be offended. You're going to say, well, he's ego. I don't know. Am I? I mean, I'm willing to talk about it. People who have high ego typically don't want to talk about their high ego, but I'm open where, well, because you say that, well, it seems to me that that's kind of what it is. Anyways, we go from life vision, which we don't really go from. Like, why doesn't it captivate us? Why doesn't it just, I don't know. Then we go into seeing and being, and it's like, it's time. So when you have an extra, like Cheryl's going through the 30-day challenge, and when you have an extra 20 or 30 hours of free time a week, a lot of times, most of the time, that's not good for a person.
Right.
Cheryl, Cheryl's think, what's that? What are you laughing about?
Well, I mean, that makes sense that it can't be good for somebody, but if you keep striving for good things in your life, then yes, it can be good.
Well, yeah, you got to have discipline,
Right.
you know, so you have to have discipline. And so, after Jonathan died, we had good people, good systems, and I probably jumped up to an extra, I don't know, 50 hours of free time a week.
Wow. Why was
Yeah.
that?
I might, I don't know, because I could. Like,
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, it was just weird. I mean, I might have worked, I don't know if I worked 5 hours a week. I mean, it's just like, and so I just had all this free time. And when your son dies and you don't have to work, I mean, is that good? I could see, I don't know if this is good. I have so much time on my hands,
Right.
but it was good from a perspective. Like, it's really introspective. Like, that was 4 years ago. Like, June 17th, we're coming up to the 5th year anniversary. And oh my goodness, do I miss him still?
Yeah.
It's been 4 years. And it's weird because Fritz Slaybaugh, I did a podcast with him, this last week. And
Mhm.
like, he's the only one that understood at the level he understood. And it's like, how does he understand that? That's crazy. So I shared it. Somehow it came up in the podcast, and I shared it, and he says, I can't even imagine how hard that would be. And then
Uh-huh.
he said something nobody's ever said to me. He said, like, the permanence of it. And that was the
Right.
hardest thing. There's no more new memories.
Right.
There's no more, there's no more new adventures with him. And it's like, and so he used permanence. He used the word, it's so permanent. And it's like,
Mhm.
so in seeing and being, like, this gets into some deep stuff here. Like, this is like, this is, this is who are we? Like in Ford versus Ferrari. Like, I watched that movie 4 times. I think well, probably 6 times now, maybe 10 times. I mean, but I think I watched it 3 or 4 times in the movie theater, which I've never done before in my life. And the fourth time, I almost went over to Africa to watch it with Peter Miles. Kind of wish I had. But they
Yeah.
say, who am I? And then it goes into dimensional living. And when you start getting all this free time and you start realizing that, like the plane is shaking. If you want to talk about a plane shaking, have your 30-year-old son commit suicide, gunshot to the head with your 19-year-old son 5 feet away from him. You want to talk about dimensional jumps? Holy
Yeah.
cow. But this was all written before him dying. Like, Cheryl, so this here, I don't know what year it was written, but you can tell as we get into the older white papers, you can tell that they're longer because all the new white papers, so 3 to 5 pages with as many pages as necessary for Q&A. But these here, this thing's like 22 pages. Hopefully, though, you have some stamina, you know? Like Cheryl, she's got stamina. And so if she's going through this, don't know why. I don't know if she does. Do you know why you're going through this, Cheryl?
Through these white papers on Saturday mornings,
Uh-huh.
um, on each one I learned something different. Some of them I don't internalize as much as I wish I would, but um, usually sometime throughout the week, my mind goes back to the Saturday call. And I don't know, I enjoy them, and hopefully it'll
It'd be
keep teaching
interesting
me.
to bring a white paper it'd be interesting to bring a white paper to, the Coffee Connection and have you talk 3 minutes about a white paper.
Okay.
So this season in life that I was in when I wrote this, and you might say, but it doesn't say you're the author. It says that Bruce and Dee and David and Jerry are the authors.
Right.
But they didn't write any of this.
Okay. So why are they in there?
Well, because my thought is that people, if I was the author, people would think nobody's that smart. What?
Okay. There actually is such a thing, though.
Well, I did write them.
Right. But did those four people, did they inspire you to write it? Like, were
No,
they okay? Just
but these
just
were people in my life at the time. And I'm like, I
okay.
want to help them in their business. So maybe they were clients, maybe they were part of Coffee Connection, so they were part of something. And I said, as soon as I became an author, people looked at me differently.
Right.
People think you're smart
Why do they?
because 30% of the United States wants to go ahead and write a book,
Okay.
but almost none of them do.
Is it because they think they're not smart or what?
No, I think it's because they lack discipline. And I think
Okay.
it's because they don't have clarity on their life vision. I don't like to write. I don't like to speak, but yet I speak and do a lot of speaking and a lot of writing. And so
Okay.
I was trying to help these four individuals. But it's like, so they didn't, it's like they don't understand. They don't understand. You and I should write a white paper.
Okay. On what?
Uh,
Anything?
do you have something you can write something down?
Uh, shoot, where did my pen go? Hang on.
Yep. So, you can tell like you're listening to this and as we get deeper into it, it shifts. It shifts. It's like I don't want to go on a journey alone. Like I don't like to travel. Like I just don't like to travel. But I like to travel if my wife is there. Like when Kenny and I went to Texas. Funny thing. Like, so Kenny goes ahead, young Amish guy, known him for a year, 2 years, and he's like, "Hey, Mark, you wanna go on a trip?" I'm like, "Sure." And he's like, I said, "Where do you want to go?" He says, "I don't care, any place warm." So it was like November, or January, or February. I don't. It's January, so it was really cold. And I said, "Well, I've got some people in Texas that I've never met before. You want to take a trip there?" He's like, "Sure." I said, "You want to fly there or drive there?" He's like, "We can drive." So he has a Charger, a Dodge Charger. I'm like, okay. So we drove there. I mean, we had like 2 or 3 days of like it was just like it was spontaneous. I'd never done anything like that before, and I don't know if I'll ever do it again.
Uh-huh.
But Rosanna, she had fallen and hurt her back, and so she couldn't go. And it was funny because when we were, I mean, she did go, but not physically.
Right.
And so she helped coordinate the hotels, and so you know, and so Kenny saw her and I get into a fight verbally on the phone, like, and I said to him after I got off with her because I was not happy with her, and she was not happy with me, and I said, I just said, Kenny, there's a good lesson for you to learn on their trip to Texas. It's all Mark's fault. Everything's Mark's fault, and so the unlimited bandwidth, it was in a season of life. And I could go back, I think, and I can go back and find out when it was written and find out what my age is, which is pretty cool. Like I'd like to do that but I was overwhelmed. Like and so like I wanted more of life, but I didn't. And so I go through, I go through and I go, it was weird because I remember reading something about fiber optics and how they were running out of bandwidth. So they were running out of bandwidth on this fiber optics, and so they were going to have to lay new cable. Do you have any idea, Cheryl, on how costly it is to lay new cable?
I have no idea.
Yes, you do.
To lay cable?
Uh-huh.
Um, why would I know that?
I don't. First thought is, I don't know, you're smart. Second thought is, I don't know, you're a woman. I mean, I don't know.
Okay, well, this woman obviously doesn't know everything.
Well, I know you don't know everything, but you know what it costs to lay new cable, like fiber optics cable in the ground.
Okay.
This is why Cheryl she just adores me. She's like, the guy's a freaking genius. How does he know all this stuff? Like, the guy knows everything. It's not like most men out there that think he knows everything but knows nothing. He's a real man. Like, he really knows. So this is how much it costs to lay new cable. A lot
Okay.
of money. I mean, millions. I mean, you got to get permits probably in the government. Then you got to dig up everything, and then you got to lay it beside another cable. I mean, I went ahead and laid cable in my property for electric, and we didn't bury it deep enough. Then we had to dig the whole thing up. Oh my gracious, it was terrible. So so they were like, we have to lay new cable, and it's millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to lay new cable.
Wow.
Yeah. And so like you can talk like at the coffee connections today. We need to talk, you, Katie, and I need see, you knew that answer.
On the cables.
Yeah.
How did I know that answer?
I don't know. You know what cables are, you know what it's like to dig in the ground, and laying new cables got to cost a lot of money. See, what you were doing is your analytic took over, and it's like Mark's wanting to know it costs $10 million, 210 million, 250 and 47 cents. I don't know. Is it 47 cents or is it 20 cents? Like, I'm not sure, so I'm not going to give the answer. Like, like your analytic took over. Mark was just looking. It's a lot. Like, it's a
Okay.
lot.
So if
It costs,
anybody asks me that question in the future, I'll say it costs a lot of money.
right? Like, so big picture, I'm not looking for a specific number. I'm just saying it's a lot of money. Like, it's a ton of money. And I remember
Okay.
them saying, and then they didn't do it. They didn't have to do it. Why? Because some computer programmer went ahead and figured out how at the beginning of the cable you could write code, and at the end of the cable you could write other code, and that could put twice as much information through the fiber optics. I'm like, dang,
Wow.
right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I bet you that guy didn't get reimbursed for, like, he just saved the company hundreds of millions of dollars, and they probably gave him, you know, a little bit of a bonus.
Right.
Not much of a bonus, just a little bit of a bonus. So Okay, so let's dive into the what it is. And so that fiber optic story, what I thought is okay, so here's one guy that said, hey, I think I can go ahead and figure out how to go ahead and save millions of dollars. And he just rewrote programming code, and all of a sudden it had double the bandwidth. And I said, well, the human mind is more powerful than that. Like if they can do that in fiber optics, why can't I do that in my own brain? Thinking differently. And
Uh-huh.
so then I say, well, how do I do that? And the first is leverage, the 5 T's, which is now 7 T's: time, talents, treasure, trust, truth, tempo, and thought, which is part of the, time, secret about time
Uh-huh.
Cheryl's going through. And then, well, I can do it through profitable partnerships. Oh, that's a good thing, and so then I can do it through, writing a white paper. And so I'm cloning myself and I'm fine tuning myself. And, my international speaking coach, Linda Brakall, she said, Mark, you don't write a book. Could be a white paper too. You don't write a book. Oh, I don't know if you got your pen. So,
Yeah.
the title of our white paper, which could turn into a book, which could turn into so much success that you don't have to, financially, it would take care of everything. I mean, it could do that. It's done that for others. Why not, us? So the 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 title of the white paper is um I don't know, something to the extent of I'm being honest with you. Do you hate when people say that as much as I do?
Um,
Probably
I
not.
never, I never really thought about it, Mark.
Yeah,
Why?
I hate when people say that to me. I'm like, I'll just interrupt them and say, so like, do I like I was thinking you were honest with me like all the time, but I guess if
Oh,
I guess not. So how do I know? Like, if you're being honest with me now, great. I appreciate that. I love honesty. But if do you like anytime, like, do you tell me when you're not being honest? Like, how does this like I don't understand. It seems to be a stupid statement. This is why I'm saying I struggle being around people,
right.
because it's like they say stuff and they don't even think about it. So writing a white paper helps in so many and gives you more bandwidth. And then speaking in groups
Hmm.
and writing a book. And then, and then the 80/20 rule. And then Good to Great by Jim Collins and the 5 Time Management Freedom Fighters. And then
Hmm.
Kill Stuff Fast. Like there's a whole model of it. It's like crazy. Like it's insane. And then Natural Laws, the 3 for 1, you know. Oh, and this is this is the secret about time, I think. Yeah. So there's the 8 is the secret about time. And then you have your life vision. Like that gives you more bandwidth. Like when your best isn't good enough, it's simple, do better. And closing loops quickly. That kind of comes back to killing stuff, but different, a little slightly. And then systems,
Hmm.
and then boss, and then group knowledge based together. Oh my goodness, that's good. And then learning from many types of people and situations. Ooh, that's good. And then the boss operating system, boss, the business operating, and then applied Thomas Jefferson education knowledge, the 10 things that are required to be successful in the 21st century. Like that's crazy. And then pay it forward white papers. So your thoughts on the white paper, Cheryl?
Like I said, I didn't get completely through it. I want to yet, but one thing that really, really stuck out to me was right at first. That little quote, I don't know if it's a quote, but probably not, just the saying. It says, have you ever thought that you had so much more inside of you, but we're not sure how to tap in and leverage all your energy and the energy of those around you to achieve your full potential? That really, really stuck out to me.
Yeah, and so like that would be really cool to talk about that at Coffee Connection. There's so many things. I am so overwhelmed for Coffee Connection in a good way. I just like, part of me wants to write down everything to get through everything. Part of me just wants to let it flow. Whatever happens, happens. And I don't know which way it's going to be.
You were saying you want me and Katie to sit down with you at Coffee Connection to do what?
Well, big and small. So it's another white paper.
Okay. Okay.
That's that. And then writing a white paper. And um, so I don't know, after about 5 or 10, so I've written over 100 white papers.
Uh-huh.
So 17 books and over 100 white papers. And I don't know, after 10 of them, I just said, well, they're just for me. I'm getting credit. I don't really need the credit. So that's when I started giving everybody else credit, for it, thinking that it would help them in their business and say, hey, I was part of this white paper, but nobody did it.
Right.
So the white paper, like, all of your tax clients, would they like to, they'll think differently. People around you, they think of you as, Cheryl, she's the little girl so we get put into a box and we live in that box and everybody thinks of us a certain way, especially, in like the Amish community. First question, they introduce yourselves and then you say, who are your parents and where did they live? It was the weirdest thing coming in from the outside and saying, why do they always do that? But now I understand, because they put you in a box. It's not wrong. It's context so they can understand, where you live, what district you lived in and all that. There's so much information, and who were your parents and where do they live? I mean, it's just,
Right.
there's so much everything. So Jason, his dad's worked in the factory his whole life. And so, there are people that said, hey, he can't own a company. I mean, his dad didn't.
I know, but why do people put everybody in their family in the same box? That's not fair.
Well, it's just life, right? I don't know if your mom taught you, your mom and dad taught you, hey, Cheryl, life isn't fair. Maybe not.
They did. I
Okay.
still want to know. I still want an answer to that question.
Well, who cares? I mean, we can't be put in a box unless we're allowing other people to put us in a box. Like if we
That's
allow
true.
people to put us in a box, then it will. So for me, it's like, why do people put us in a box? My question is, who cares? Like, I don't care. Like they
True.
can't do it. If I don't allow them to do it, they can't do it.
Yeah, that's true.
And so for me, like being a Christian, raised as a Christian, my dad is a pastor, it just irritates me. It says in the Bible, it says, it says all things are possible through Christ who strengthens me. That's what the Bible says. And there's Christians. I can't tell you how many pastors say you can't do that. I'm like, what do you mean I can't do it? It says like all things are possible, because they've never internalized that passage ever.
Right.
And I think I get the impression they don't want to. They don't want the congregation to internalize it, because then it's a threat to them as a pastor. Because you'd be more powerful than them. It also says, Jesus said, you're going to do greater things than me. I bet you get this a lot. I get this all the time. Like people like, what do you think you are, God? Like, what do you think you are, Jesus? I'm like, which is really cool when people say that. It used to just like, I'm like, you have a very different understanding of God or Jesus than I do. Like I would never say that to somebody. Why? Because I think I have an understanding of God, like more than it seems like other people do.
Right.
What they're really saying, I kind of laugh now. What they're really saying is I think I'm a really spiritual person, Mark, and you seem more spiritual than me. So I don't like that, because I'm going to call you and say, I think you're, it's like, they're just weird. They're just weird. And it's like, well, Jesus said, that, we're going to do greater things than me. So I guess, yes, that really messes their mind up. Like they're self-righteous and they don't even know it. They don't even know they're self-righteous. It's like,
Right.
really? So unlimited bandwidth, what is it? It's unlimited. It's like, it's the human, like God created us in his image. If he's unlimited, he created us in our image. Well, then, and the Holy Spirit indwells us. If that's the case, well, then we have unlimited bandwidth. All things are possible. Like Christians should read this and go, wow, yeah, no, I get this. Yeah, no, this is biblical. Yep. No, yep, I get this. I understand this. I apply this every day. But most of them will be, well, that's not possible. It's like, what do you mean it's not possible? Like, it just, this is why I don't like being around people. I like just being by myself,
Yep.
Anyways, so hopefully this is helpful for everybody. I mean, write a white paper, 3 to 5 pages, do something of interest. And so, Cheryl and I I'm guessing we'll write a right, I'm being honest with you. Why do you say something so stupid? Because they're not honest. Cheryl, she awakened me. She introduced me to a world that I'm still trying to, like, I need to be honest with people. And I'm like, everybody my whole life is like, you need to be less honest, Mark. You need to be less direct. Like everybody, my dad, like everybody.
Right.
Why is that? So Cheryl, I don't know, she saw something. She's like, you need to be honest. You need to always tell your wife the truth. Tell people that, really? Yeah. Like, wow. And that's why Coffee Connection, start Coffee Connection, start one just with yourself, and then bring one other person. And then, and then it'll grow from there. It just will. If you use Life Masteries Institute model and how to grow it and stuff like that, they're amazing. Always remember, like, if you have any questions on this, connect with the individual who invited you to participate in today's session, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300, outside the US 630-393-9909. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.